What's up, folks? Dave Swift here. We've got an exciting one, or at least an interesting one today. A full-blown website builder is available on lifetime deal. It's not very often that we get a true competitor to something like Squarespace or even Webflow that you can buy, pay for once, and then never have to pay for again. I'm talking about Grigora over on AppSumo. Now, Grigora is actually part of the AppSumo Plus Day celebration. You don't have to be a Plus member to buy it, but certain tiers you actually do. As I scroll down to the plans and pricing here, tiers 4 and 5 are Plus exclusive, which means you need to join AppSumo Plus in order to purchase. But actually, it's a great idea because you'll save a ton of money if you do so. Now, today's video is sponsored by AppSumo, particularly for AppSumo Plus Week, which is running right now from August 11th until August 15th. Plus members get their normal 10% off all year round. A Plus member gets 10% off of everything at AppSumo, no limits, but you also get an additional 10% off of that when you purchase over $100 at a time. Now, the math experts tell me that when you take 10% off of something that's already 10% off, you actually save 19%, a pretty great deal. My thanks to AppSumo for being a consistent supporter of this channel. Now onwards to explore Grigora. So I've already tested out this tool fairly extensively. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think as we go, but I really think the best way to show you how it works is just to start from scratch and we can build out a website together. Now, what I want to do is build a taco review website where I taste different tacos and give my thoughts on them. So I'm just going to call my website Taco Review. Very creative, I know. We'll go ahead and move to the next section where we pick our layout. A layout is a lot like a theme on something like WordPress. Not exactly one for one, but essentially it's somewhere between a theme and a template. We can customize everything you see here on all of these themes. There are a ton of them, by the way. They're all pretty decent looking, probably not just absolutely jaw-droppingly gorgeous, but also not ugly at all either. Somewhere right in the middle. Really good for businesses where you don't necessarily want something to be like too fancy unless you're like Apple with all of the scrolling stuff. Personally, that turns me off, especially for a local business or more of a mid-sized business. I just want something, kind of like this that conveys information, gets the point across, and helps me learn about the company. So as you just saw, that's a really nice feature. As I hover over the previews, it kind of scrolls through the page. If I want to sort this further, there's a search bar at the top, or I can just go to the section I want, like food. Now, I like this template right here called Cookery. It's the very first one, but you know what? I'm actually going to go with, how about Epicure? That one looks a little bit better, at least for my purposes of a review website. So I'm going to click on this and it opens up the first step of the setup wizard. Now, this is not the editor itself. You might be disappointed if you think, oh, these are all of the colors I can choose from. They're all different shades of gray. Don't worry, this is all fully customizable later on. But the way this works is you can kind of select all of these different templates. Like these have different button colors. So it's going from blue to green to whatever color that is, some kind of off purpley thing. And you can kind of see what the different looks would be. Now, my suggestion to Grigora, excuse me, would be to allow me to customize these colors just right here in the setup wizard. So I could say my button colors, I want those to be red or, whatever. Just let me choose them right here. That would be really nice. This layout right here is also pretty cool. It just need more drastic options, right? Where this is not very different. All of them are basically the same looking. I want to point out that this is not a unique interface. I've seen this on other, particularly like WordPress themes. So I think they're kind of borrowing some good ideas here and I don't have a problem with it. As we move to the next section, you get to choose your fonts and kind of the same thing here. You can actually upload your own custom fonts later on, but if this were the extent of the tool, you might be disappointed thinking, well, I've got to pick some of these different combinations of fonts. So like Source Sans Pro. All right, that looks pretty good, but I really want to upload my own font or I have a particular Google font that I like. Don't worry, you can choose that later on. This is just meant to get you up and running. So I'm gonna go with this one right here with Open Sans and however you say that other font name. Then I choose build my website and we get to see a little plane taking off here or flying over the sky, whatever it's supposed to be doing. My website is now available. And just like that, no editing, it's ready to go. First thing we'll do is kind of take a little survey of the land here. Where are all of the buttons that we need to find right away? Because what we're seeing here is like our analytics and then we've We've got our storage consumption. They're linking to some Grigora featured posts and video documentation and things like that, which you can definitely check out. But really what you want to probably do first is start editing your website and maybe enter in something like a blog post. And those two buttons are right here in the upper right-hand corner. The site editor is actually where you can change the things we were just looking at, like the colors and the fonts, but you can also change the pages on your website. In fact, if you want to add additional pages, you'll do it right here inside of the site editor. Over to the left, this looks basically like what we just saw in the wizard, but over to the left, we've got a brand new toolbar now where we can add individual elements. So if I wanted to drop in something like a button, I can just grab the button and put it wherever I want on the design. And let me tell you that something that I always look for in these types of tools is how responsive is it as I try to place an element on the page? Is it difficult? Do I feel like I'm struggling to get it to go exactly where I want? And with this tool, no, I do not struggle at all. Let's say I want to put it right above this date here. Super easy, very accurate. It just shows up. Now, does it look great right out of the box? No, you gotta kind of go ahead and customize this. There are styles, so you can go ahead and give this a class if you're interested in CSS and you know how to do that. You can give it a custom class name and set up everything and styling and do it that way. But probably more often than not, you're gonna set up one button the way you want it and then just copy and paste it to the others. Now, remember that we set up our color palette in the initial wizard phase. So this button came in as blue, whereas all of the other buttons are kind of purple. You can change that palette over here in settings, and then here's our color palette. And in this spot, you can actually add in other specific colors that you want, right? So I'm gonna delete this, but I can go ahead and maybe remove a color or add in a new color right here. Just click and choose on exactly what I want. But what I find interesting is that when I bring in a new thing like a button, it doesn't pick up on that existing color palette. Of course, if I click on the button over here, I can click on the color and it does show me my color palette, so it's easy to get there, but it'd be nice if it just defaulted to the color palette that we set up either in the setup wizard or customized over here in settings. Okay, so we were looking at our elements here. There are a ton of different elements. Some important things to point out. We've got dynamic elements like a CMS list. This is going to basically allow you to create a feed of all of your latest blog posts. In fact, we're kind of already looking at what it might look like. I dropped one in here. I'm gonna get rid of that. By the way, there is an undo and a redo button right up here. But what we're looking at right here is an example of what a CMS list might look like. Now, they're not actually using a CMS list here. I'm gonna get rid of my straight button, but essentially the idea is there where I could drop in that element. And now here's my CMS list. In fact, I'll just drag it right below our collection right here. I'll grab my little handlebars and drop it right here. And if I wanted to recreate this look, I could just change the CMS list to have 4 columns. That's easy to do. Under settings, we just go down here to dimensions and change it to 4 columns. And then I can click on one of the empty templates here and start working in the template. That's gonna automatically build out all of the other CMS entries. So I could drop in a photo. And of course, I want this photo to be dynamic. So right over here, it says is image dynamic, and I'll turn that on. Now, the source of this is going to be from the featured image. All right, there we go. And then it looks like I need 4 more elements. I need the category, the title of the post, the date the post went live, as well as a read now button. So let's drop in some more elements here. I'll start off with some text, and this text is dynamic. It's gonna be the post category name. We'll center align that. Then we'll add in the post title. I'll make this an H2. It's dynamic, and we'll add in post title here. Whoops, a couple of things are going wrong here. First of all, I just realized that I'm in the wrong order. So I actually want the category to be right below the image and the text to be right below the category. Now I'm moving this around over here using the layers section, which gives me a nice hierarchy of everything that's going on the page. Now I mentioned there's 2 things that I want to change. The first was the order. The other is that this text is a little bit too big. Now it's still an H2. That's actually the right category for this heading, but it's just too large in order to fit on the page very well. So I can go over to the typography here, keeping it in H2. I could change it to an H3, which is gonna make it smaller, but that's just not the right way to label it. So let's make it a little bit smaller. We'll bring it down to, how about 22? That looks much better in my eyes. And now we'll drop in a button. So we'll go back over to our elements here, find the button, and just place it where we want it to go. This is a dynamic link, so I'll turn on dynamic link. The source will be the post link. I wanna change the color to be my red color that I set up. We'll make the text a little bit bigger over here under typography. I'll enter in 18 and I've center aligned everything. Let's just type in read more, increase the weight. Maybe I'll make the text color white. So there you go. In just a matter of a few seconds, I built out a dynamic list of recent posts on my website. It's not very technical, but it's got enough technical stuff there if you know what you're doing that it makes it very, very powerful. Now, looking at this, it looks pretty good, but I sure would like something like, the buttons to all line up here, or maybe just have a nice background to separate them and make it look like real cards. So I could continue editing this if I want. I can right click on the image, make sure that's selected, and then choose wrap and container. Notice there's even key commands for this. That's really cool. So I've now wrapped that image in a container and I can just drag the other elements right inside. Now I've actually found that the dragging of the elements not as smooth when you're trying to go inside of a nested container like this. So I'm just going to do it over here inside of the layers panel, but very easy to do there. Now I've got everything inside of a container and I can actually use CSS Flex in order to get everything to be aligned. So I'll align everything center, and then I could vertically align with something like space between. Now at first it looks like nothing changes here, but I've just got to set a minimum height for my container. And let's say we make that, I don't know, about 350. We're getting close there, maybe 375. There we go. Now everything's lining up very nicely. I could also set a background color for my container. So under the style section here, I'll go to background and I'm gonna go ahead and just choose a plain old color, and let's make it, oh, that white looks pretty good. All right, so hopefully you get the point. If you're technical, you're gonna love this page builder, but if you're not, you're gonna wanna check out sections over here, which are basically templates that you can easily drag and drop in. So if I wanted to have maybe, oh, I don't know, how about a counter on my website? I'll just choose the counter section here, drag and drop it where I want it to go, and then boom, I've got a nice counter I can easily customize. No technical stuff necessary. Now, the next item over here is pages, and this is where you add in dedicated pages to your website. By default, we have a home page and an archive page, which shows a list of all of our blog posts, but we can easily add in as many pages as we need. So right now I can add in a new page by just clicking on the add page button. I'm gonna make this a contact page, so I'll just call it contact and give it a permalink. I've added in a page title, and then it asks for an SEO page title, so you can actually give it a different title if you want something else to show up on the search engines. I've not talked about SEO much in this video, but there is SEO throughout the entire tool. It's very, very forward thinking in terms of being easily digestible by the search engines. All right, I'm just gonna add the page as is because it's obviously just for demonstration purposes. And now I've got my contact page over here. So when I want to edit a different page, it's really easy to just jump in. All right, I'm editing the home page. Now I want to edit a different page. I'll just go over my pages here. I'll edit the contact page. This is entirely separate from your blog posts. They are not intermingled together. They're in a different area of the tool. And I really think that was a very forward thinking design choice. It was a great idea by the Grigora team. There I go. I said it wrong again. Grigora team. And just to show you how quickly you could build out a contact page using only sections, I can add in a hero section right here, then maybe a contact form followed by some testimonials. And there you go. That looks great. A little bit of customization, and you could easily ship this as your contact page. By the way, you can see mobile responsiveness on this editor right down here. So this is the desktop view. I can switch over to the tablet view. It looks pretty good here as well. And then I could switch, well, the images here honestly need a little bit of work. That's something that's tweakable. All we need to do is set a max height and a max width, and it looks a lot better. Now, obviously that only affected the first image. I've got the other ones here not looking so great. It'd be really nice if there was a copy styles option here. Unfortunately, there's not. I can just copy and paste the image in, and of course, needing to get rid of the old one. Now, changing this image is also very easy. We've not looked at images yet on the platform, but all of the images work very similar to this. So in this case, it's a background image inside of a container. I can open this up and then grab an image from Pexels, or I can generate an image using AI. Now, image generation is going to cost you 750 credits. Depending on the plan that you get, you might want to use another tool for this, or maybe just upload your own image, which of course is an option as well. But here I'm going to go ahead and generate a professional headshot of a woman executive, hit generate image, and we'll see the magic of AI take place. Here we go. Here is my woman. This will work just fine. Not my woman. I am married. This is the woman that was generated, and we'll add this into our website. There we go. Looks great. Of course, I recommend that all of your testimonials are from real humans and not just purely AI generated. Now, one item I've skipped over is the component section. This is where we can edit our header and footer. The header and the footer are going to apply to every page that you add them to. So here's what the header header looks like of this website. I'm still in the tablet view. I can switch over to desktop view. You can see we've got a navigation, search bar. We've got some social media links up here, a link to join the newsletter. Overall, a very complete header, and I can make any changes that I like by just clicking around and using the editor the exact same way we saw before. All of these sections and elements are available to us. When I want to exit this and go back to editing my pages, I just click go back right here, and now I'm in my contact page. When you build a new page from scratch, it will not have a header or footer, so make sure you add that in. Just go to your elements here and find the header, drop it in, and there you go. Repeat for the footer if you choose. Whoops, I dragged it to a random spot here, but that's okay. I can see the container and just drag it to the bottom of the screen, and here is my footer right here. Now, when it appears on a page, if you want to edit it, just hover over it and you can go right into the editor. No reason to go into the component section, but both ways work. Now, notice there is a newsletter subscription form over here. There's actually a dedicated newsletter block that we can bring in. I'll just show you that. We'll drag it in. So here we go, a very simple subscribe now block that we can add in. Now, there's a built-in newsletter tool, which we'll check out, but we got to get moving because I've already spent so much time on the editor. Last thing we got to cover is there is an area here for your typography. You can go ahead and choose what fonts you want to use, the body font, the head font. Now, in a different section of the tool, you can add your own custom fonts. Let me show you where that is. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this. We'll go back out to the main area. We'll exit here. Now I'm in my taco review dashboard, and I can add in my custom fonts by clicking on the gear icon down here and then going to custom fonts right over here. Here you can upload any custom font you want as long as it's TTF, OTF, WOFF, or WOFF2. While we're in the settings, some other pertinent things to check out. We've got custom domains. You get one custom domain per website of your plan. We've got some SEO settings, not very many here. These are more broad. They affect the entire site. Like I mentioned, there's SEO just built in throughout the tool. Like it's not something you need an extra plugin for. It was thought about ahead of time. That's really nice. If you are coming from WordPress, they do have a migration tool to bring in your content. And if you do need to add some custom code, there is a section here to inject that custom code into different parts of the page. Now, this will affect every page on your website. I'd like it to be on a page by page basis as well, but right now it's just all of the pages or none of the pages. I mean, kind of. There is a custom HTML section, so if you want to drop some HTML into your page, you can definitely do that, but it'd be really nice to have a dedicated code injection part of every single page. Okay, so that is the page editor, which you find inside of the site editor. You can add all of your pages there. But in order to add a blog post, you go right here where it says add new post. There's also an item on the left-hand sidebar. Side note, I think it'd be really cool if they just added add a new page on the left-hand sidebar as well. That would be just a way to kind of skip through a few steps, but I digress. Let's add a new post in here. In fact, maybe what a better thing to do is just to check out some of the template posts that they've given us. So under posts, I've got two options here. I've got my main post, which is a link of like template posts that they created with the template. And then I've got my categories here where you can add in any ways that you'd like to categorize your post. So they've got a default one here. I'm going to just add in, let's say like, we'll say taco trucks, and I'll say restaurants. I'm just going to get rid of this default one, hitting delete. There we go. I've got taco trucks and restaurants. Now inside of my posts themselves, let's go ahead and look at what it looks like. This is the editor, right? So I can go ahead and type inside of the editor, very streamlined, no blocks here. If I want to add in anything, I've got my inline editor. There is slash commands just like in Notion or in Ghost. And I could very easily add in something like a quote or perhaps an image. So just slash image. And from there, just like we saw before, I could generate an image with AI, or this time I'm going to go to Pexels and we're going to look up tacos, and there's a slew of different tacos to choose from. I will drop in this one right here, hit use image, and there we go. I can resize it a bit if I like, but I think the default sizing was fine. And once I run out of space in my template, it actually kind of zooms in, which is kind of cool. I like that. I'd like even more editing features so I could maybe crop it. That would be really cool, but we're kind of getting that same effect, but it only goes, one direction. So we're close. Notice the accessibility options over here. We can add in some alt text, also give it a title and link for the image right away. And then down here, we can even add in a caption. Now there is a focus mode for your blog editing that actually makes everything go full screen. You can't see this because I'm not recording my entire screen, but essentially the entire interface disappears disappears and we just have an editor. There's no sidebars, nothing. We've got our info section right over here where you enter in the post info, the author, the category, and all of that. It also shows you your reading time as well as the number of words in your article. And there's a full-blown SEO section so you can find out how well you might be doing to rank for a particular keyword. So if I were looking up taco trucks, it's going to go ahead and analyze my content to see how well I've done in terms of writing about taco trucks. Now, considering the entire article is lorem ipsum, I'm curious about some of these scores, but most of it is telling me I've done a terrible job. And of course, there are AI tools baked right in where if I'm starting fresh, I could just have it generate an outline for me or just write the entire dang thing. A blog post generator costs 500 credits, noticeably less than an image. So yeah, it's getting pretty cheap for those blog posts. A couple of the AI tools that I think are actually really useful. One is the internal link suggester, which will look at your entire website and then suggest links to other pages on your website inside of your current blog post. This is something that takes a lot of time and, honestly is kind of a pain in the neck and many people skip it. Well, you can have AI do it for you now. That's really cool. And second of all, the FAQ generator costs 150 credits, will read your post and then create an FAQ based on the content in your post. I love this idea, especially if you write long posts that might be slightly technical like I do. I've been adding FAQs to all of my recent posts on daveswift.com and they really seem to help people out quite a bit, especially if they just want to find the answer to something and they don't necessarily want to read the entire article, which who can blame them? By the way, in the SEO section, I didn't really call this out, but you can enter in all of your metadata here as well. Like we've got our featured image, which will serve as our meta image, or if we're sharing this on social media, it will serve as that. You've also got your meta title as well as your meta description right here. They'll even give you a little score to let you know if it's the right length. And you can update the slug here as well. Very important. Now, as I open this up to preview it, we're going to see what this looks like in action, and it's not great. Now, this is kind of a weird thing. The preview function doesn't seem to be working for the blog post. Now, that is very strange to me because if I actually go ahead and visit the same exact post, it loads just fine. The live version works. It's just the preview function that doesn't seem to be operating right now. But here you can see what it looks like. It's a pretty nice looking blog post. Now, it might be a little wide for my taste. I can go ahead and modify that using my single post template. So pop quiz, where would I find my single post template? Over in the site editor. So I'll open that up, go over to my pages, which down below, I've got my single post template. I can open this up, open my layers, find our post content, wrap it in a container, and then go ahead and set our width to, how about something like 750 pixels. And then selecting our main container, I'll set this to be flex, center align, and everything looks a lot better. Hit save and publish. Here's what the post looked like before. Let's reload this. And now it's a lot more narrow. I feel like that's easier to read. Of course, if anyone's following along with this and they actually just made that change, also set a max width to be 100%. That way, if someone's got a small screen, it doesn't actually just go right off the screen because we set a width of 750. Okay, so that's how you create a post and even modify the single post template. Now notice right here, there's also a button to send this as a newsletter, meaning I could click right here and then just send this entire post off as a newsletter using one of their templates. So I could switch over to a magazine layout or a centered layout, and I can go ahead and just fire this off as a full-blown email or even schedule it for later. The newsletter section over here is where you manage your subscribers. So you don't actually send the newsletter from the newsletter section. That all comes from your posts. Now, you could very easily save this as a draft, go back out to your post list, and still fire this off as a newsletter if you don't want it to show up on your actual website. One thing I'd love to see here on the list of posts that's related to that is I'd love to see the status of the post. Is it in draft mode? Has it been published? That is very unclear at a glance. It'd be really nice to add that in, or even add a filter in over here so that I could sort by post status, whether it was published or in draft mode. Further, there are no bulk actions other than to delete or export posts. So I can mass select all of my posts here, at least all of them on this page, then go over to functions and then import, export, or delete. But there's no way to say edit the category or to mark it as draft mode. Those would be really nice to have, especially if you're dealing with a large site with hundreds or even thousands of posts. And now that I think of it, it would also be really nice to be able to sort by category. Right now we just have time, title, and score. There's the category category section, which tells me how many posts are in each category, but it's not clickable. It doesn't take me to a list of that category. Right on the dashboard, there are some really great integrations with Google products. So if you're a fan of things like Google Search Console, which you definitely should be because it's free and it's the right way, it's not you giving information to Google, it's Google giving information to you. Just go to the SEO report, connect up your Search Console here, and you'll be able to see all of the data from Search Console right inside of the website dashboard. Really great feature. Same thing goes for analytics. This is where maybe it's a little bit more debatable. You're going to be giving a lot of information to Google, and then in turn, they'll let you know a little bit about people visiting your site. So you can connect up Google Analytics 4 right here, and then it's going to show you all of that data. So you don't have to go off and actually use the Google products themselves. They'll have a nice interface right here inside of the tool. That's a really nice feature. There is a keyword research tool over here where if you're brand new to blogging and you want to find some ideas to write about, you can go ahead and search for keywords over here. And then it's going to do a keyword analysis, give you some similar keywords and let you know how many people are searching for that term, as well as the difficulty to rank for that term. I really like that there is a file browser built right into the tool. So over here on files, we can see the different types of files that make up our website. So for example, if I go into images, I click on 2025, I open up the folder, very much like WordPress. It's by year and date and day. I can see all of the images, including the AI generated image that I made earlier in this video. We can open up and there it is. There are a lot of really great team features built into this tool. I've kind of skipped over them until now. We've got a little project manager so we can add in some assignments and actually assign them to other users. So I can be like, finish the copy, assign that to my client, hit add, and then it's going to let them know that they actually need to log in and finish the copy. And when you're working inside of blog posts, you can select some text. And when you do that, you get a very Google Doc-like experience of adding in some comments. So I can say like, rewrite this section, hit add. Then it's going to show over here to the side that I was the one who left that comment. Someone else could reply. And when it's done, you can close it off with a check mark. Just very thoughtful CMS tools that publishers are really going to enjoy. I've not seen a lot of these as native features in other platforms before, so I'm pretty impressed by that. Of course, you can add in your team members under settings and then going to collaborators. When you send off an invite, you can set their user role as contributor, author, editor, or administrator. If you're wondering about the AI features and what tech is actually being employed behind the scenes, you can go over to AI here inside of settings and then choose the model that you'd like to use. By default, they are using Gemini 2.5 Flash, but you can upgrade to Pro if you want, or you can even use GPT 4.1. Now, 5 just came out. Maybe they'll add that. I don't know. Now, let's check out directory listings. When I open this up, I can go ahead and create a new collection. So a collection is going to be basically like a custom post type. So it says this could be apartments, products, services. Let's say I was creating a directory of taco trucks. I could call it taco trucks. Then I can add in custom fields. Now, it starts you off with a name and a slug. So I think name is pretty good because that'll be the name of the taco truck, but I also need to add in a location. So let's go ahead and add in a new custom field here. I'll open this up and I can choose a field type of plain text, rich text, images, links, date and time, a switch, an option, or a reference. So for now, I'm just going to leave this as plain text and I'll set the field label to location. Now, maybe I want another custom field for something like their website, in which case I would add in the link, type in website, and we can even do another one for something like their phone number. When that's all done, I'll hit create collection. And now I can open up my collection, add in a new item. This is a lot like just filling out a form. I'll enter in the name of the restaurant, choose the slug if I don't like what it gave me, enter in the location, the website, and the phone number, hit create, and now I've got my first entry into my directory. Now I could spruce this up, I could add in images or anything that I want, but now inside of my actual page editor, so for that, we go back to the dashboard, open up the site editor, kind of the fastest way to get there. There is an actual element called directory listing to be precise, which is very much like the CMS listing that we saw earlier, where we can go ahead and just pull in from a directory. So I open my layers down here, I went to my directory listings, and then I can just choose my taco truck directory right over here. It's gonna pull in that information, and I can simply rinse and repeat the process that you saw earlier in terms of adding in some elements like some text, make that text dynamic, and then choose the field name that I want to display, like maybe their location. But that's not all. As soon as I create this collection, a collection page is created for me automatically in the pages panel. So to see this, of course, we need to go into our site editor. And then over here, we can go to our pages, and you can see there is a taco trucks template that we can customize and set up exactly as we want for our custom post type. Well, our directory, I should say. And a nice touch down here, there is help and support where you can actually send a message, report a bug, or request a feature right from in the dashboard. So I think that's pretty nice. Now, when I'm done working on my website, I can go back out to all of my sites, maybe start a brand new one and begin again. So there is Grigora, a pretty impressive collection of tools to build out your website. Is this absolutely flawless? Is it going to be exactly what everyone wants? Of course not, but it's going to be a great fit for a lot of publishers, particularly people who want to publish content regularly, use AI to help them, but not entirely do the job for them, and want to collaborate with other human beings. Having everything take place in one location is so much better than spreading out across Google Docs and then trying to bring everything inside. I love the collaboration features here. Also, the directory features are gonna be huge for a lot of people who get overwhelmed by things like advanced custom fields inside of WordPress. For the non-technical user, it's just too complex. I think the feature inside of Grigora is powerful enough, but not so overwhelming that the average person won't be able to understand it. So how does something like Grigora compare to Breezy, which was also available on AppSumo as a lifetime deal not that long ago? I'm a big fan of Breezy. I think it's a great lifetime deal, and if you picked it up, you should be very happy that you have it. Whether or not you want to add in Grigora to your ability to create websites for people is entirely up to your mindset and what you think of actually the tool that you saw on the screen earlier in the video. In my mind, Breezy is a little bit more beautiful and slick looking, whereas Grigora has some more technical features and can allow you to do things that are just not possible in Breezy right now. So it's really a win-win if you've got both of these in your library. But if you're happy with one or the other, I don't think you lost out at all. Overall, I'm gonna give Grigora an 8.2 out of 10. We live in a great time where there are plenty of options to create websites, and tools are rarely the limiting factor. So go ahead and pick up your lifetime deal for Grigora if this suits your needs. I do have my link down below if you want to help support this content. Of course, questions will come up about a lengthy review like this one, so drop them down below. I'll try to answer everybody's in a timely manner. Thank you so much for watching this video. My name is Dave. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next review.